you're ready.
I am Mark Feinkenoff. I am from Atlanta, Georgia. My history, briefly, is that I've been an architect most of my life. And as an architect, I've listened to the needs of many people to design schools and churches and businesses and buildings. And at some point in my life, due to the death of my wife and some other activities, I found myself in Atlanta, Georgia, working for the transit system, and again working between neighborhoods and developers and big business to design communities around the transit station. And through that, and through a new partner, Cynthia Moe, we started teaching nonviolent communication. And so this has become our life. And the story that I would like to share relates to my work with nonviolent communication. I had the opportunity with Cynthia to do a training with a group from the Metropolitan Atlanta Violence Prevention Partnership. And 3 of the people in that training, of about 15 people, were ex-cons who had worked in the community and were now trying to find ways to help younger people understand the value of staying out of the gangs that they had been inducted in earlier in their lives. I had the opportunity to work with Arthur, who had been the 3rd ranking member of one of the largest gangs in Atlanta. Told me that he didn't even know the number of people he may have killed, because if they said to kill him, they would do that. And he'd been in prison for 11 years, and then worked with the FBI to break up the gang that he had been a member of. But you can imagine being out of jail, how difficult it would be for a person who'd been part of those gangs to be out in the world. And yet his work had become, how do I work with young people to help them stay out of the gangs? And I had the opportunity in that process to be able to have an empathy session with Arthur, in which I heard his story. And when the group that we were training got back together, Arthur began to cry and said to the group, "I've never been heard like I've just been heard, and I just so appreciate that." The second part of that story is based upon that connection with Arthur. Cynthia and I had the opportunity to work with about 40 young people who were on probation in the Douglasville Police Department, and we would go on Saturday mornings. We had 3 Saturday mornings where we'd work with about 40 young people, and we took some of our people. And during that period, we asked ourselves and then them, when I heard, I didn't know what to do. And so when it came to me, I said, when I heard as an 8-year-old, one of my friends called me a dirty Jew, I didn't know what to do. We then asked them to tell stories, and one of the young men said, when I was called the N-word, I didn't know what to do, because they weren't allowed to use Negro in the Douglasville police. And so I agreed to do a session with him, a role play, and convinced him that it would be all right that he called me a dirty Jew, and how I would react to that. And then role-played how, when I heard him and how scared I was at the beginning, I talked about what my fears were, and then I was able to say, "So you don't really like Jewish people?" And he reflected back, "No, I don't even know any Jewish people." And that opened up an opportunity to connect with him. "Well, would you like to know more about Jewish people?" And before we were done, we were having a conversation. And it helped him understand that there were other ways than violent ways to respond to what might have been a very threatening situation. 2 sessions later, at the end of the session, he and a young woman who was 14, I think he was 15, asked me if I'd do a session with them because she wanted to know how to be able to say, no, I don't want to have sex with you, without it breaking up or being violent. So I had the opportunity to help her say, you know, I really enjoy being with you, but for respect for myself, I don't want to have sex with you. So for me as a 72-year-old white Jewish man to be working with two young Negro youngsters was probably one of the great thrills that I've had in all my relationships, and indicates the opportunity that I've given myself by learning and teaching nonviolent communication and trying to develop a more peaceful world.